What's up and welcome back to the What's Up podcast. It's great to have you guys back. I'm here on a Thursday night doing this one, and I've got another very special guest, someone that you guys may be familiar with in the Warriors content space, especially on Warriors Fan TV and other places. I'd like to welcome in Ty from Warrior Fan TV, and we're going to get into a little bit about his story and things like that later on as well, but really great to have him on the show. Hey Ty, man, thanks for jumping on, bro. How you doing?
Cheers, man. No, thank you for inviting me to talk. And yeah, shout out to Warriors Fan Team. Definitely thank you for putting me on. And yeah, can't wait to talk about the Wars.
Awesome, man. Thank you. So guys, the run sheet tonight. Look, we are Thursday night. We know the game's tomorrow night, but we're still going to give our little review of the game while we hear some takeaways. Then we'll get into the podium. Gold, silver, and bronze as we usually are. Who are the guys that are really standing out, and obviously in the last game, and then we'll do a quick preview of the Manly game coming up tomorrow night. Strengths and weaknesses, that type of thing. Then we're going to look at the international calendar that's just dropped. Get Ty's thoughts on that, and then we'll get into a little bit about Ty's story. Obviously, he's probably shared it on other platforms. You guys may have heard this, but at least on the Wires Up podcast, it'd be great to hear his journey with the Warriors. So we'll get into it right now, guys, and we'll get this one started. Okay, guys, we'll start off with key takeaways. We got the dub in Hamilton, where I'm from, and it was great to see that massive crowd out there. But at the same time, there can be some feelings of deflation for some ecstatic still about how the season's going. But Ty, what was your takeaways from the game against the Tigers, bro?
Yeah, cool. So very interesting game. One way to put it. Obviously Tigers were at the bottom of the ladder, so I think there was an expectation that maybe this might be an easy game. I certainly had a high score prediction going into that game, and again, you can't always just go into a game expecting to win. But I think what the Wires have shown us this year is that they can get into that grind, overcome that grind, and have led to results where I feel the Tigers have gotten into the grind and probably have fallen away. So kind of had high expectations that we're probably going to roll through, and at the start it kind of looked that way, 12-0 up. Right, the boys were kind of getting a roll on. I thought it was going to go that way, and then I think you alluded to it in one of your reels, and we talked about it after the game. There was just some mental lapses, especially defensively. We just got opened up a bit, and shout out to the Tigers. They kind of brought it to the boys. We're obviously going to be heading into the playoffs. Hopefully we finish in the top 4, so it's kind of good to get a bit of test and actually just kind of know where some of our lapses are and go to training and kind of work on those.
Yeah, there's nothing better than knowing where your weaknesses are, eh? And I think what Webby was saying was, doesn't need training sessions. Well, it could need some training sessions, but in his mind, it's very much mental lapses at this stage. Now, I wanted to get on top of the expectation element. I mean, I was the same as you, bro. I was expecting 13 plus. I wasn't surprised though once they got into the grind that the Tigers did lift and that type of thing, but as a fan base in general, there's mixed polarizing views at the moment. I'm sensing is that, well, we should have put 50 on them. There's these types of views out there. Where do you sit on that sort of barometer of, okay, we're well below where we need to be, or actually no, grinding out wins is kind of how the NRL is, that type of thing?
Yeah, bro, cool. Let's be honest, a bit of new territory for us, given the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So I can understand that a lot of us have, especially with how the season's gone, high expectations that, we should be staying, we shouldn't be playing with these bottom teams and playing like that. We should actually be, a top 4 team and playing really well. But at the same time, I think, Webby's done a well job to and the whole coaching stuff to get the boys to where they are in a year. That's such a fast turnaround, but I think this is still new territory that we're trying to cope of, actually being front runners. So for me, I kind of sit in this camp that a win's a win. Again, It was the Tigers, it was the last place team. Obviously we can see and all hail Webby, he can see what what's going on and where the challenges are. And yeah, I agree. We got some mental challenges that exist in our game, and I feel like for us as fans, we kind of like, oh no, if we're close to these bottom teams, a lot of things are going wrong. And I feel like once I watched the tape again, I was like, actually, it's just a few things that if we can clean those up, which is just focus. you know,
Yep.
we might have rolled them actually. So, yeah, I kind of sit in, I guess, the barometer, if we put it that way. I kind of sit in this kind of same space that, take each game one game at a time. A win's a win. But I do love that, now we've got the standard for the Warriors where I feel like if we just come away with, like, trying, we were, as Waz fans, we would have been happy. Now we're like, we should be winning by 40. It's a different space now.
Yeah. No, harder. It is a kind of a weird space to be in. I never thought of it that way, but it is a new frontier for a lot of us, or a frontier we haven't been in for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to. We've been talking a bit about mental lapses. I was wondering what you thought about in terms of the physical. I saw Adam pull up a little bit when he scored his try. Dylan Walker, pulled up with a bit of a tight back. Do you think it's kind of there's two things happening at the same time, or do you think physically we're still holding up pretty well, or kind of where do you sit on that as well?
Yeah, really good question. Now, like, I haven't probably looked at all teams, but it feels like, a lot of teams are going through a bit of not injury cloud, but injuries here and there. And I think one thing that I was just thinking of is that the season's a bit longer. So yes, there's been a lot more buys, but obviously having the Dolphins in there as well, there's obviously another few weeks added to the kind of calendar, so that means a few more trainings, all that kind of jazz as well, and coming off a back end of World Cup and all of that too. So I think the boys are still holding up relatively well. Obviously, we had Sean Johnson not taking on those kicking duties because suppose he had a hammy or something like that as well. So few boys are picking up a few things. Let's hope that we are ready to go finals but obviously we've got a couple games left to kind of focus on that and get through as well. So I guess for me it's kind of like and this is where the coaching it's all, I don't want to be making that decision, but how do we make sure we can focus on each week, but at the same time how do we make sure our boys are best, not rested, but in their best optimal self, so then when they get to those playoffs, we're ripping in there as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make. I think even like it's a kind of an illusion thing where you think, 3 buys, man, that's 3 weeks of rest. It's not really. It's actually you're still kind of thinking about on the job, even though you're not playing, so it's dragging out longer. So you're absolutely right about mental fatigue kind of setting in. Not and it's sort of starting to show on the field, but maybe Webby's more aware of it in his training sessions and recovery and all those types of things. So, no, really good point there, man. What do you think of at the moment, kind of the current interchange thing that's working with Jazz? Do you feel there needs to be a kind of an adaptation there, or and we're seeing Adam play 70 minutes, Tohu played 80, I think. Can you see any spots there where we can try and relieve a bit of that pressure on some of our main guys?
Yeah, really good question. I would have to say, just actually reflecting on the game, this was probably one game where, we've had Walker inject himself, close to that 30-minute mark, and Tigers kind of stuffed it, they actually made him ineffective in the weekend, and every time he's come on, and now, even Jazz, even last week, man, they came on and we scored off that kind of energy and them, straightening up the attack, and I think in the weekend we didn't see that, so that was interesting to see and just see kind of how we adapted. I think the real interesting thing for me is, like, obviously we've got Egan with the throat injury, and obviously he's supposed to be playing, but they still haven't picked another secondary hooker. Obviously Surinen's kind of that utility man in there, and nothing against Tyrone, but he'd probably say that he's not probably a specialized hooker. He's someone that's filling in there if he has to, and so I think for me it's the question of given that Egan may not be playing, do we need to have, or he might be playing with such an injury, do we have Lussick come into the frame to kind of help out? Again, don't want to be making that decision. We'll leave it to our management, but that's kind of the thing that I'm thinking about. Do we need a 9, or do we rest Egan, start Lussick, and have the bench that we have going into Manly?
Yeah, man, really good point. I think you want today. I mean, I think you can handle Suriname playing hooker for maybe 10, 15 minutes, but not for 55.
55 minutes.
That's just too much time. But very good points and food for thought for all of us as we're going down to this final run. But that sums up, guys. The Tigers will move on now into the podium, and we'll get right into that. Okay, my man. So podium, gold, silver, and bronze. Man, who'd you give your gold medal to for that game?
Oh, gold medal. Well, I to be honest, there's probably only a couple players that I thought had a real standout games.
Yeah.
So I think the gold for me would probably have to go to Mr. Adam Vanilla Blake. Purely, highest running meters. Got a meat pie there.
Yeah.
There was that mental lapse that kind of got Lowry through, and
Yeah.
actually reflecting it, it wasn't just himself, and
Yeah.
also Barnett. There was a few things before that play that led to that, but I have to give it to him. I think he will take my gold.
Yep.
And then in terms of silver,
Yep.
probably have to go SJ. Set up 2 good tries. He had a probably like I mentioned this on the Warriors fan TV because I had to kind of rate the spine, and I don't think it's like it was his best game by any means, but like I felt like Tigers played really well, disrupted the backline quite a lot, and he kind of stepped in to kind of take over some of those plays, like especially that try that went to Pompey when he did that skip ball. He kind of came over to the left hand side, so I feel like he's become this man that's like can control a game, but also when it's not in their kind of favor, he's trying to find where he can inject himself. So
Yeah.
I think purely on that, I think if he didn't do some of the things that he did in the game, I don't know if we would have came out on top potentially. So SJ, and then bronze. It's a bit of a toughie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Tane on this.
Yeah.
I think Tane was very shifty. The man can move, man, and just the way that he kind of stresses the line, like he just adds a bit of variance to the play. However, I'm gonna say that I think we miss Chance at the back. I'm nothing against Tane's game. It's just like I think his relationship that Chance has built with Sean Johnson and that back line, you can definitely tell it was missing in the weekend as well. But Tane, he can move, and maybe it's just time in the sack is what I say. Is like he had more time with probably those boys and played a couple more games with them, then maybe he could be that fullback. But yeah, I'll have to go Tane just purely because I think there was only one drop ball, was that high ball against Buller. But other than that, he was there, stuff that could have sell 40-20. He was around.
Yeah.
Just probably need to tighten up here and there, and just kind of that back line was just a little bit clunky, just because I think they haven't had time in the sack.
Yeah, it's funny. I love that one that he got in the end goal and he passed it out to SJ and then SJ sipped it. That was a good one, eh? I was cracking up at that. I was like, oh, where are these fellas going? Oh, okay, sweet. But that was, hey, just presence of mind, eh? I think he's got footy smarts. I remember even the Titans game where he made a half break and the guy was pulling on his jersey and he held the ball. Like, I thought that was really cool. Like, he could have tried to throw the ball. But no, he's a very smart footy player. I'm with you. Like, it's like there's I think it's more of like communication and voice. People know CNK's voice, and so especially on defense, they know where to be. They'll hear that call, and I suppose Tane hasn't had time in the sack, like you say, to really kind of do that. I wanted to go back to SJ, man, because I know you're a bit of an NBA. I'm a bit of an NBA guy too, but we talked about chiming in when it needed to be. I've kind of said sacrilegiously probably, but kind of his evolution has been like kind of like an MJ post, but baseball. But others have said it's kind of like a LeBron too. The older you lose your skill set, and then you start to chime. Who do you think, or was there even another NBA player that you can kind of relate the current SJ right now to an NBA player right now?
Yeah, good question. I'll actually have to go with that Bron comparison, eh? Like, obviously the Sean Johnson that took us to the grand final in his first year, he was very off the cuff. I don't know how many times I've watched those highlights and just like freaked out about what he could do, purely as with the ball in hand. And he's always, to be honest, he's always been a moment man. Moments. Even if I go to that Kiwis try, like. He wasn't really in that game, and then that last minute thing he did to step, and go through and score the winning try and then get that kick. So he's always kind of just had his moments in the game. I think now what we're seeing is a guy that actually can play that 7 and play that kind of person that's going to control that game. And it's so awesome to, like, not to say I'm proud of him because I don't know him like that, but it's just so cool to see him take that evolution in his game. And I feel like that's why I kind of probably say Bron, because it's like, even though, he's gotten older, Father Time doesn't seem to, I guess, impact him, because it seems like he can still, jump high and do all these things, but not at the same kind of thing. But now he's the mature guy, kind of trying to support everyone else and then feed those plays. So yeah, I'll probably have to go with the Bron comparison over the MJ comparison, and I can't really think of some other NBA players that kind of come along.
No, cool, man. Yeah, no, that's really awesome, brother. Hey, you guys, that sums up the podium. A really good one there. We went AFB, SJ, and Tane. I think that's pretty much a valid one from there. But we'll go now into a little preview with the Manly game coming up. Okay, guys, we've got Manly coming up tomorrow night, 8 p.m. I think New Zealand time. Daniel Anderson Stadium. We'll get into a little bit about Daniel later on in the show. But look, coming up against a Manly side that did pretty well against Penrith, held their own for a majority of the time. That's always difficult against a Penrith team. Where do you see them coming over, kind of in a real do or die kind of situation, trying to get themselves finishing in the 8? How do you see their strengths and maybe weaknesses as well?
I think this is a toughie game, eh? I think there's I guess there's the playing side, or who's playing. We can compare stats, look at games, kind of stuff. But then I also think about the external factors that kind of come into the game, the emotion and all of that. And I think on one side we've got Manly, who they have to win every game to kind of make it top 8, and hopefully a few results go their way. Where obviously the Warriors, not to say they're sitting comfortable, but I bet you Webster's making sure that their feet are firmly on that ground. There's going to be desperation, I'm assuming, from a Manly side. And then we've got this whole with Daniel Anderson, and it's really cool to see the Warriors giving love back to him and trying to raise support for him. But that emotion, is how much can they wear on the heart, and wear on we got to do it for him, and we saw with the Crocker 300 that the Warriors spoiled. Emotion can play a big part in the game. So I feel for that there's that narrative. Then when it comes to the game, I think I see Chance is back, which is awesome. And then I've just seen that Wade may be 50-50 depending on playing, and I feel like I think we need our all hands on deck. I know we don't have Barnett, but I think that what was kind of shown in the Tigers game and a little bit in that Titans game and definitely in other games, our left side does have some struggles, and then we're going against a DCE Ulukuatu, that can destroy, so I feel like for me that's why I think it's tough. There's some external factors going on, and there's some ways that if Manly play how they play, they can actually exploit some of where Warriors' weaknesses have been shown in kind of past weeks. But I kind of think Warriors are going to lift a bit. There's just this maybe this is my own bias, but I feel like Warriors are going to lift to this a bit. So I had the Warriors to potentially get pipped, if I had to be honest, before the team list. But then when I saw Chances back and potentially Wade playing, I actually think the Warriors might just get through this one. But I do think it's going to be a toughie, and I'm actually looking forward to it being a toughie instead of a blowout.
Yeah, I've looked at the tape as well, and I think Manly probably posed the greatest attacking threat across the park. If we go back a few games, the Raiders couldn't get to the edges. Titans down to 12 men, so different game plan. Tigers, in a sense, got to the edges and played a bit loose because they're trying things for obviously finding out combinations and all that. But I think that the Seagulls have that really strong structure. Trebojevic in the middle, similar to Tohu, playing that first receiver lock position. Edges fast, and then like you said about DCE. That edge, bro, is just going to be that short side raids that DCE does. That they're just going to have to be really onto it. Metcalf and Pompey will have to be in sync. But I like you said, I trust that a little bit of C&K coming back will settle that, and we hopefully can get them into our game plan. But there is that absolute threat, man. Do you feel with Bunty coming in for Barnett, do you feel it's a good time to have Bunty in there? Obviously starting as well. I think Webby sees him as a starter. How do you feel Bunty will go on tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think Bunty will do well, eh? Like, if I was reflecting on the Tigers game, very obvious that Barnett probably didn't have his best of, especially first halves. A couple of drop balls there, and some mental lapses there. I think, Bunty, he's probably been waiting in the wings a little bit because obviously he's played a lot of games this year. Playing his craft down in the New South Wales Cup. So I think he'll be rearing to go, and I like him. I actually like him coming into the starting line instead of coming to the bench and kind of messing with our kind of bench rotation. So I do think it's probably yeah, I do think Bunty's just going to have a nice solid game in the weekend, and I kind of hope he does because, I feel like, I think Barnett is the man there, especially when Barnett's playing his good footy.
Yep.
But to know that we've got someone like Bunty in the wings, it's a good thing for the Warriors to have.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It is really good. I mean, it's actually this is like you said. I think this is a really good game to watch. I think we're going to see everything in terms of edges really getting attacked properly. Kicking game, DCE, we know, massive kicking game. So CNK and everyone's just going to have to be really on a string together. The only area I see is if Adam and Tohu and all those guys are healthy, I think we can get on top of them eventually. I don't see this as a blowout of any kind. I think this is a really close one. If you were to go with kind of your score prediction, your thoughts, how do you think this one ends up with all those external factors included as well?
Yeah, cool. So, on the Warriors fan TV, I actually sided with the Manly on this one, and I was going maybe they might edge in 24-20, but now that the team list has come out and just kind of a few interviews I've been watching, I do think the boys can get up. So I'm going to go 22-18 to the Warriors. I haven't checked the weather prediction, so that might change things if I saw that. But let's hope that it's a semi. Well, no, let's hope it's dry. Let's hope it's just a cloudy night. And let's see the boys get up. But there's something in me that, not to say that the boys have played down given they're versus the Tigers and Titans. I just feel like there's something about they might lift this game because they've had, just probably a few strings of things not go their way. And I think partly having CNK back, because I do think that's what he brings is there, like not just on the attack and he's just straightens up. That is the defense too, like the calling. You can just, there was just been a little bit out in the last 2 games, and I don't blame Tane for that. That's just the learning curve,
Yep. What's your take on Metcalf? I know Tamari is kind of in the background there, but at the same time, you want Metcalf in the sack as much as possible. He's had a few fluctuating performances, but at the same time, for someone like him, I felt that he just needs more time and reps. But where do you sit on that one with Metcalf at the moment?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So, firstly, I rate Mr. Luka Mikiafu. I think he's he's definitely got talent. I think he's got a lot more fullback tendencies in his game.
Nice.
You can see the way that he follows up the play. He's always there like a fullback should be. So I think he's got a lot of that tendencies. I do think he's the potential replacement for when SJ moves on and we have him and Te Maire Martin kind of playing that 6 and 7. But in terms of the decision that where they're at, and if Te Maire Martin comes back in the next week or two, I think you would have to keep Luka in there just to purely see he's got to lose the spot. I don't think he's I don't think he had the best game in Tigers game, even though the stats showed that he was the highest tacklers for the backs. There was a few stats where I was like, oh shucks, when I watched the game I didn't see all of that kind of stuff. But I do think he has to fully lose that role for Te Maire to come in. That's just kind of like it's almost like if you change too much, I think you rock the boat too much. But then if this was Munster coming back into the Storm, you put him straight back in week 1, so I wouldn't change it, but I do like Te Maire Martin's game. I think all the especially when he was there, just the kick, it's the kick check stuff. He's always first to the once Johnson was kicking, he was there, he was sitting in the line. There's a lot of things to his game where he just kind of played well, and then even his relationship with Jackson Ford, like there was a lot more things going for Ford when Te Maire Martin was there too. So that's a hard decision to make, but I rate Te Maire Martin, but I would have to leave Luka in there just to play these games out and see what happens.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you haven't built enough of a profile to really know what he can do. But his explosiveness is insane. Like the way he's able to burst through at different times. I think that's something we need to capture. I think if we've got a run here while Te Maire is not fully fit, I think more time in the saddle, like. He will get more of them. He's probably got the most half breaks I've seen in the last games that he's played. He's always on the verge of doing something. Yeah, sometimes he overruns Walker or there's some other things that he does, but it's almost like he's always on the verge of scoring. He's pulling up. I think he's nearly scoring every game as well. So there's something there that we need, that change of pace. At the same time, I'm hoping that he kind of levels off his performances a bit. Because Te Maire is there and with experience as well. that Tamati brings. But it's exciting. I mean, it's great to have these options. It's great to have, at least you're not stuck with Metcalf if he falls apart, or you're not stuck with Tamati if he's not going well. That's just a really great thing to have at the moment, man. Well, that's a good score prediction, brother. I did see. I think it was maybe a good sunny. It's going to be cold, but dry. So we'll see what happens, brother. But that'll be an interesting one. Look, man, I just want to jump on quickly to the international calendar. They've just dropped the test coming up for the Kiwis and Samoa and the Kangaroos. Are you Kiwis, man, or are you Samoa, Tonga? Or?
So Kiwis. Kiwis hard. Yeah. But I'm also Cook Island by blood too, so cool. If the Cookies ever get up, I'm also screaming for them too. And I would also say, any Pacific team, man, I'm loving what's happening with the game, especially for the Pacific. And I don't give a shit about Aussies.
Yeah. Oh, the same as you, bro. The same philosophy. Kiwis first for me, but I love Samoa, Tonga, and all the boys. And I know the Cook Islands are playing in PNG, I believe, with Fiji and PNG. That'll be a good one as well to watch as well. So exciting, man. What's your take? How do you think that? I suppose there's going to be a few issues around, the thing I always find hard is selections and getting guys to commit. I would love to get it to a point where we could get guys to commit for a World Cup cycle. What's your thoughts on that whole eligibility selection process type thing?
Yeah, so, I think there's the Tyrone that wants to see the Kiwis win. Person that obviously we want to see all of our players that want to represent their black and white jumper be available and ready, and have a calendar that suits it, that's not too what would we say, with a long NRL season, we want to make sure the boys still at least get some some rest. So I think from that kind of perspective, I'm thinking about how can we optimize and make sure the players are ready to go, and that's for any team if I was supporting them. I think from an international world game, it's just so cool to see this kind of thing happen. I've been calling for, if I take it on a bit of a tangent, I've been kind of calling for there being a heritage comp. Having all these Pacific Island groups, and even seeing the Māori and Indigenous come into the space and playing these teams. But I think having Australia and New Zealand in there is really cool to see, and I just the fact that how the kind of eligibility rules are set up, I think they can still be improved, but how they're set up where we can have the representation to some other teams is actually so massive for the game, and I can't wait for the fanfare in New Zealand, and definitely I know in Australia too there's going to be, and definitely in the islands, there's going to be so much fanfare, and it's just I'm a league lover at heart, so when I know that everyone's out here supporting league, I'm like, it doesn't matter what team's getting screamed, I'm loving it. So I think from an international kind of see the game grow is cool, and to see that they put this down, I would have hoped that they kind of gave us a little bit more time to kind of it kind of felt like it's just landed, and then we gotta get into it, which I'm definitely gonna do that as a fan, but it's just, let's just hope that the best players are available, everyone's ready to go. I don't want to play, personally, if I was just from a spectacle, not just from a spectacle thing, but even just from purely want to see good game of league, I want to hope that all the best players are available and everyone's ready to go, and let's just hope that 4 weeks after or 3 weeks after, I don't even know, a couple of weeks after the NRL Grand Final, that is possible, and we'll see that all take place in October. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I think it is possible. I think it's up to the players, but I think you can manage it with 3 games. Like last year, the World Cup was just huge. You can see the toll it's taken on different clubs, and fortunately for us, SJ stayed back and Tohu. But I think that the managing 3 games, or even just 2 games technically, if you think about it, if you don't make it to the final. So I think players should be up for it. Would be awesome to see every available. And I think the Eden Park game's going to be especially awesome. I know that they've got a Kiwi A versus a Tonga A, man. What do you think about that Kiwi A team? It's going to be interesting to see who gets selected. Would you go with some guys that haven't had test experience for any nation, kind of come through, or would you go with just guys that haven't played internationals in a while? What's your kind of thoughts on that space?
Oh, awesome. I'm just gonna say what's gonna kind of come in top of the head
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's actually a really good question because I'm like, oh, actually, how would I do that? Especially thinking about Madge's probably strategy around how does he want to build to a potential World
Yeah.
Cup here, right? Um, um, I would purely go on the basis of who's our strongest side and then who's our second strongest side because
Cool.
I can see there's probably an effort to say let's take our stronger side, obviously playing for the Kiwis, but in the A side, let's pick a young side. That's probably bit more, let's not an under 23 side is not what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say here,
yeah.
but
I
like,
got you.
but a younger side to say that we're thinking about what happens in 4 years. The only thing is, I think with this eligibility rules, and some people probably hate it because of this reason. I don't know, actually how many of
Yeah,
our Kiwi boys are going to pick Kiwis. They might actually all play for, all the
yeah.
participating Pacific teams. So, yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see what is the depth, personally,
Mm.
for the Kiwis. There are a lot of boys playing, but, I know a lot of them have mixed heritage. So, they might choose to go actually play for others and, yeah, who plays for the New Zealand A side? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I've been racking my head, trying to think how would you construct it. The funny thing is, though, there is enough depth there. I think for even the Tongans, Samoans, you could probably pull it off. But it'd be great to see some guys in that space that don't usually get, that type of look in.
Yep.
So even like you said, the young guys, the dream bullers, that would be an exciting thing. Just to think, what do you choose to kick? Just imagine that, those type of options that are available for every guy. But I do believe, at the end of the day, it's what you believe in, and if you want to be tour Samoa, that's awesome. And I think, but the key is just to kind of stick into those spaces as long as possible. I know
Yep.
with eligibility, it kind of chops and changes, but we'll get there. I think it'll get there in the end. I think it's just building. This is the only real start of the whole Pacific Rugby League movement. Sort of started off with Tonga and now into Samoa. So, no, very exciting, my man.
Yep.
Look, we're going to jump into a little bit of your story now, man, if you don't mind, and we'll just continue from there. Okay, guys, we all have an origin story. I suppose the canon to how we became a Warriors fan. I think sometimes we feel we're probably idiots that we ever got involved. But that's not like that this year. It's exciting. But anyway, Ty, man, I would love to hear your origin story and how you got involved with the Warriors. Take us back, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. So, how do I start this origin story? So for me, I'm actually gonna go a bit back. So I remember sitting at the table with my parents, and they saying, "What sport do you want to play?" There was a kind of newspaper and article, and I just put my finger down.
Oh, wow.
And under my finger was our local club. So I come from a local club called Mount Wellington Warriors.
Cool.
Just to give a bit of history of players that come out of it. We've had the Sorensen brothers come out of our
Wow.
league club. We've also have the Edel brothers. We've
Cool.
had Logan Swan, Clinton Torpy. We've had what's the name? Richie Barnett. We've had
Yep.
Sean Hoppy. So we've had some Warriors come through
Yeah.
the club, and we've also of recent we've had Carlos Tomavave and even Chanel Harris to be the
Nice.
kind of applied his craft there. And if people didn't know, the guy that scored 2 tries in the weekend, Mr. Stafford Tor, is also an ex-Mount Wellington boy as well. So
Cool.
I come from a long line of that, and being able to pick that club and go play for them. We were called Mount Wellington Warriors in '95, so I started in playing the game at '97. That was when I was 5,
Yep.
and it was just natural. My dad was like, "Hey, we might as well go watch." A team that plays rugby league and that plays professionally. So I've been supporting them ever since then.
Yep.
I've been fortunate that actually got to go to the 2002 grand final as a young child, and I found some old footage over there, and I was just laughing around like, man, we've been here, watching it since then, and then watching the kind of roller coaster ever since then. So that's kind of my origin story, is that I've kind of picked a sport and found myself at a club, and have loved the game ever since, and played most of my life, good old 20 years playing league.
Yep.
And done some things, played with some really great players that have applied their craft to NRL as well, and just kind of have a real, it's kind of life for me. And now to see, but we've been there in the worst of times with our Warriors, but to now kind of get to this place where we're creating these standards for ourselves and saying we're a top forward team, nothing else. It's
Yeah.
been a great journey. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it has. It's been a crazy journey for a lot of us. I come kind of similar thing to you. I grew up in Te Atatu, not far from Jack Colvin Park. So I grew up in Te
I
Atatu
mean,
Rooster. Played my junior footy there, but then moved away and ended up playing rugby. But still had that league heart, in my heart as well. So it's cool to hear that your journey through playing and then through the Warriors as well, man. And what a story to go to the grand final. That's insane, brother. That's such a cool man. You got good parents, brother. That take care of you.
I know. I know. Thank you, parents. And it's funny too. We found some old footage and we're going through it. And they asked me for like my update after the game. I was like, oh, we've been doing this kind of Warriors kind of reviewing since then. Like, I think I said something like, oh, Kevin Campbell could have done something better or something like that. I was like, what was going on?
You've been preparing for this moment. There's the origins. There's a canon. There was a canon story, man. Oh, nice.
Exactly, bro.
Very nice, man. I want to go. Actually, we'll go back into there's kind of there's eras to I suppose the Warriors and that. I suppose what was your favorite era, and I suppose who was your favorite player from the Warriors here?
Oh, okay. It's always a hard choice. I think for the era, it's the era. Obviously, I'm going with the nostalgia here. It's the era I grew up with, and it's the whole keep the faith era. That era. And the kind of where do I start, man? Like basically that kind of 2000s era. Especially this is all support of Daniel Anderson. That kind of his era.
Absolutely.
Definitely is probably my favorite era because I went to every game. With my parents and friends, and we were the guys that like the game's playing. We're out in the northern stand, all playing league against the other boys that are there too. That was the era I kind of grew up, and so and then try we all coming together. So it brings me a lot of good memories. But also just like I think that was the first time we got to see I'll be honest, Māori and Pacific boys dominate, take over the scene, and actually give flair, the Ali Lau TTs doing behind the back ball passes, the Henry Fafilis, celebrating tries, the Monty Beathans like standing in people's faces and saying, I'm not backing down, and then going to the favorite player, for me, can't look past the little general, I played halves growing up, and, he was someone that I really, love watching play, and I'd go back in the park and try and copy his little chip kick that he used to do, trying to perfect their little chips, so that's kind of that era, and also my favorite player was definitely Stace, but I do think interesting, I think if Sean Johnson goes on to win a ship, I think my favorite player, and also I think who the new king or the new SJ might actually have to switch to Sean Johnson, but we'll see. Well, let's hope that happens.
Yeah, man. I want to touch on that point you made about it was the first time I felt I'm Maori, and but I still grew up a lot around Samoans, all Pacific brothers, and the Warriors for me they encaptured what it meant to be a Polynesian and the style they played. It was interesting. I was listening to to Daniel was on SENZ today, and he was talking about what him and Kempe tried to do. They didn't want to try and change the guy's style. They tried to find a style that fit the playing pool, and that style. It was basketball pretty. It was what they when Rab said they're playing basketball. It was, but it was also like very structured too. Like they had fundamentals. Their forwards were hard and gritty. The grinded out style. So it kind of got lost in that. They always thought we just jungle ball, but sometimes it wasn't. It was very structured. So, but just that Polynesian flair, bro, like you just kind of felt it at that time. I was like, man, you just were proud of the style and especially of the Pacific vibe that we had, man. It was unreal that era, man. Just your thoughts on Anderson, brother. I mean, such a tragic story at the moment, but listening to him today, just heart takes me back to kind of his ethos and his ability to just never give up, and it's also instilling. If you really look at it, bro, all the guys that have come off of Ando, they're all doing great things. Monty's in the media space, Stacey's coaching, all of them have been really influenced from Daniel, man. What's your thoughts on Daniel reflecting upon his career and where he's at now?
Yeah, like I guess first time gets us all.
Yeah,
Individual time. We have to go through the journey of life, and we get to these stages, and that's all different for obviously it's going to be different for all of us. So it's I don't want to say it's sad seeing Danielson the way that he is, but just from that man that was out
yeah,
there kind of telling what the boys to do to obviously being there, there's definitely um you'd hope for him to live hopefully an optimal life from here on out, like
yep,
all of us.
yep,
But I think what I wanted to touch on is that I think talk about yeah, the Pacific Flair. Yeah, man, like that was dope. Like just this things like people hadn't seen. Like even
yeah.
just some of the stuff was like you could tell the Australian commentators weren't used to this kind of style of
Yeah,
footy.
bro, they weren't.
It was
They.
very different to them. And I think for me, it's like he made and this is how I saw it. He made people that he coached see themselves, like be you out
Yeah,
on that field, take that on the field, because no one can be you, but it's how do we utilize you and mix that together with all the other guys that are out there and actually play a footy that works for us. And I remember like. I guess before Webby kind of came in, when he just came in, he kind of there was an article where he was talking about, we're not gonna like I just came from the Penrith system. I'm not just gonna adopt the Penrith system. There's things we learn. I'm actually gonna figure out, what is the style that we can play. And I was like, is that a tohu there? Is that a sign there that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he understands that maybe it's about how do we find the essence in all these players that we have and actually bring that together. And for me, I think we saw that in what Anderson and their crew did, and what it led to. And
Yep.
let's just hope that Webby, I don't think he's taken that blueprint, but it's like he's got this whole kind of I guess similar philosophy, and let's see him take it one better, hopefully.
Yeah, man. What a day it would be. It would just change life. He's already changed life, I feel, and it's like you say, just he has that way of like I do agree with you. I think people have been saying, "Oh, we're just Penrith light," or diet Penrith, but really, it's a bit different to that. I think he's actually crafted the skill set that his players have and made it fit. So I'm with you, bro. Totally. That's a really really good point. Bro, just want to talk about your journey into the content space. I'm not sure how long you've been doing this. I've just seen you since the Warrior Fan TV. How have you found it, and how you enjoying it, and what's the kind of response or feedback you've had?
Yeah, well, I've been just, to be honest, watching the games, get to catch up. So shout out to Warriors Fan T, shout out to Real, shout out to
Yeah,
Damien, shout out to Tynes, and shout out to Nick, who actually brought us all together.
yeah,
And me and Nick have actually mutually friends outside of it. We have run our own businesses and come from the same kind of community, and we linked up. And he's like, "Hey, I really want to do this channel," and I said, "Hey, once you do it, bro, I'm a fan. I love to just talk
yeah.
about the Warriors, so why not?" So that's kind of how we got into kind of the Warriors Fan TV. But for myself, in terms of personal background, I love design. I don't know if you can see these two things on the thing, but I
Okay.
enjoy design and doing kind of those elements. Have a video kind of editing background as well, so kind of like that
Wow.
stuff, and have kind of taken that into business and made my own video agency previously, and now kind of been a business coach. So all the stuff I've learned over the years, how to help businesses grow. So it's quite funny, like what the ones that I've kind of found myself naturally working with and working best with are the ones that love talking about rugby league and the Wars. So it kind of all comes together, and I don't mind having the odd conversation about the Wars while we're trying to actually look at how to help your business grow. Hey, it's all good.
Yeah. So come back. The Warriors are great, man. But come back. I need your money. No, no, no. No, I really want to give credit to Nick. I know Nick's been awesome. We've been in touch with Nick and over the last few, and loving what you guys are doing. I think your guys' combo with Real and the rest of the crew is just cool. And I just want to shout out to Nick as well. He's been really good to me as well. So you going back onto your business, bro. How have you always been entrepreneurial, or how's this journey been for you getting to where you are right now?
Yeah, good question. So obviously I said I played for Mount Wayne Warriors, but I probably didn't say who the community I come from. So I come from East Auckland, predominantly lived in GI and Port England my whole life. These are little communities out here in east of Auckland. And come from a community that didn't necessarily have money.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, I always get this kind of saying wrong, but the league, started over there in England. It was always kind of the wrong word is poor person sport, but it wasn't the sport that was played by the elitists. It was played by the average commoner, and I feel like for me, I've been always in these situations where where's the money? There's no money, where's the money, so the way for us to make money, and fortunate enough to see some of those boys go and do it, is go pave your way in sport at like NRL. And that was definitely a dream that I had of mine, to like maybe that's the way to make money. But you kind of figure out that, hey, not everyone in the world can make NRL, so there's other options that you have to kind of look at. And for me, it was like, how to not only just like learn business for the sake of building my own lifestyle, but like if anyone knows me, man, I want to go back into the league scene, but actually come to it not just with like I guess knowledge of how to play the game, but I think a lot of the actual challenges is not the game itself, is actually how to run a good club, how to do all the other things, so then the players on the field can do their thing. So for me, getting into business is definitely, it's actually because I'm like, I actually want to take all this knowledge and bring it back to the game, whether that be in a local footy park, or who knows, like I've always said, maybe potentially buy the Warriors if I could do that. So that's kind of been that's kind of a big part of why I've kind of gone into entrepreneurial stuff, and unfortunately I've learned a few things that I'm now sharing with others, how they can grow what they're doing.
How important do you think the media space is? I know you mentioned about you doing some media stuff. I kind of equate a little bit of what the Warriors media team doing. Like, I really like their content. I don't really follow any of the other NRL clubs, but I think the space they work in, they do a really good job of kind of promoting the team, creating a vibe on social media that I'm sure then translates to more business and that. How important do you think, if you were to run even a local club, an ARL club, how important do you think the media element is to making awareness and even business opportunities?
Obviously we live in a world now that social media is everywhere, and everyone's got it in their pockets, right? So being able to tap into it, and it's leverage. Instead of having to yell outside of the street, hey, we got this game going on, you can actually get in front of them purely by doing a post on whatever channel it is. So I definitely think a local park could benefit, a local footy club could benefit from actually understanding how these tools work and actually utilizing them to promote not only the club but do other things as well. In terms of like the Warriors stuff, I predominantly watch Warriors content, and besides NBA content, it's Warriors and NBA. And I funnily enough, I saw the Manly content today. Must have popped up as a one of those posts when you're working on Facebook, and that was dope as too. It's like see you soon, New Zealand, or something. Welcome to New Zealand, and it's just them coming to New Zealand. I was like, oh, this is cool, So it's really cool to see people not only promote the club and share the club, but what I think, and this is something that yourself and Nick have done, and there's some other podcasts, not just Warriors, but even other pages, is that I think there's always been an opportunity for social commentary. That's not just by the boys that have played the game and the coaching and management. There's actually people that watch the game, the fanfare that happens, and actually getting their thoughts. And I feel like this field, I think, has been untapped for so long, and it's one of the biggest reasons why I feel, I don't know about yourself, you watching NBA, but I watch a lot of social commentary NBA stuff that do fantastic videos and all that, and I think that actually helps the game. Now, they don't directly profit off all the stuff that fans may do, but it creates so much more perspectives and content that other people can get into, and then eventually get closer to the game. And also for those diehards like us that get like, now we can watch more content on this. I just feel like I don't know if this is answering your question, but I feel like the leverage of marketing, definitely all the way from from a local footy up, definitely should be the go. But I think that's what the game has been really missing, is the social commentary side and seeing the creative, of us down here, because I watch a lot of African American content that do NBA stuff and all that stuff, I think like we're missing the Māori and Pacific flair. I'm not saying we're missing. We've got you guys now to like see it,
Yep.
but we're missing that flair, like the boys in the 2000s added Warriors to the social commentary side. Like that's what's
I
missing,
know.
and that's going to be a whole new like. Yeah, I think this is going to burst open and be some amazing things that come out of that.
I think so. I think it's on the verge there. And I know where you're going with that. I think it's I kind of work in my space, but I think it's just really good. Like it's opened a lot of pathways up. Something I never even thought would be interesting, and it's actually funny that I've kind of tapped into something that wasn't existing. But because I come from the NFL as well, where I was watching the NFL tape. You can go and buy a subscription, and you can get all the angles, bro. Like every angle that you want, and it's like, oh, sweet. And you can see the bird's eye view, and I was like, oh man, I wonder if I can try some of this stuff. And it's just been, like you said, it's untapped, and there's, like you're probably saying, bro. I would love to see that vibe come through even more so in the Warriors space. And I think it's like I really love what your mindset, bro. Especially around ecosystems and how to grow them and stuff like that. So in terms of business and that, do you what is it that kind of the stuff that you're helping? Say maybe outside of the rugby league circles and just a person that's. How do you kind of help? How are you kind of helping people? Are you kind of consultation, or are you kind of helping them build the infrastructure of their business?
Yeah, good question. So, predominantly, like where I'm at now, I'm helping people that are in service-based businesses.
Yep.
So anyone that provides a service-based business, from like tradies, construction, events, people that are doing agencies and content and digital. I'm helping that space because that's kind of the stuff I've done. So it only makes sense, right, to share the stuff that I've learned to people that are wanting to learn that. So I help in that, and it's basically mentoring/coaching. And I have a whole kind of built curriculum around how to basically grow your business. And like it's if you're out there and you're wanting support on actually how to grow, I've been in business for 7 years, and I'm keen to share how people can actually make that whole jump. And I'm kind of in the space now that my expertise, similar to like the WAS. We've played the game, we've learned a few things. It's like trying to apply that to now I've learned in this game. How do I kind of share that game back? And I've kind of come to learn that like anything, the information's all out there. You can go on YouTube and find this. My role is to say that, hey, I've just bring the information, put in a sequence that makes sense for you. But you can't ever get someone to do something that they don't want to do. It's like you create the water, is what I say, but you can never get them to drink it. So that's the work I do, is trying to help people understand, here's all the water. Take a sip, and hopefully it leads to the desires you have.
Cool, man. No, I really appreciate that, and I love hearing everyone's. We kind of. We love our WAs, but we also have other things that we got to do in life, and it's great to hear that side of your work. Actually, man, while we're kind of wrapping things up, if you don't mind plugging that your business and any other socials and any other things you're doing right now, I'd love to share that with other people and get that message out there.
Yeah, cool. So I've actually stopped everything that I'm doing and now running under my name. So we're going to actually do this properly under my name. So at Tyrone Tangata-Makiri is my full name. It's a pretty long name. Maybe I can send it to you. You can put it up. But you can find me on Insta. Find me on Facebook. Those are kind of the main two platforms. Or even LinkedIn if you're on there. Hit me up if you want some support. Or if you just want to talk to WAS, we can do that as well.
WAS helpline.
WAS helpline. But I might need to use that helpline, so I might be calling myself.
I'll call myself. No, very nice, man. Oh, bro, thanks again for jumping on. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to even doing some more work with your brother in the podcasting and content space. It's very exciting. And guys, always check out Ty on Warriors Fan TV. Very, very good stuff, and happy to share the space with you, bro. So, now thanks, man. We're gonna wrap that one up, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed that one. Enjoy the game tomorrow night, and we'll catch up next week for another episode of the WAS Up podcast. Peace. Up the WAS.